I want you to picture a place that's supposed to be, peaceful.
Hmm.
Bear Brook State Park, Allenstown, New Hampshire. It's all dense woods, towering pines.
The kind of quiet that feels heady.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but for 40 years, that silence was hiding something absolutely horrific.
It's the setting for, well, you could argue it's the most frustrating, complex, and just haunting murder mystery in New Hampshire's history.
Honestly, maybe in the entire country.
Maybe.
And we're talking about the Bear Brook Murders. For decades, this case was a total dead end. Literally, you had victims with no names, a killer with, too many names.
And zero connection between them.
But the reason we're doing this deep dive today, January 20th, 2026, is because that final domino has just fallen.
That's right. As of September 2025, just a few months ago, this case is finally fully solved. The last nameless victim, a little girl we only ever knew as the middle child, she has her identity back.
And the way it happened, it wasn't just some high-tech science. It was, believe it or not, a text message from a stranger and a $20 document request.
It's incredible.
So today, we're going to walk you through the barrel mystery, the hunt for the chameleon killer, and the breakthrough that gave a little girl her name back after 40 years.
And to really understand that breakthrough, you have to start with the nightmare. And it begins on November 10th, 1985.
It's hunting season. A hunter's out walking through the woods in Bear Brook.
And he spots something that just doesn't belong there.
A 55-gallon industrial drum. Rusted, overturned, just sitting there.
And inside that drum, he finds a plastic bag. And inside that bag are the decomposing remains of an adult woman and a young girl.
So this is 1985. The police are baffled. They have no missing persons reports that match, no idea.
Nothing.
These two are just Jane Does.
Sure.
They're buried, and the case goes cold. Ice cold.
And here's the detail that it gets me every time. The investigation just stalled for 15 years.
15.
It wasn't until the year 2000 that a cold case unit goes back to that exact spot.
And what they found, it's just unbelievable. Just 100 yards from where that first barrel was found.
100 yards. A stone's throw.
They find a second barrel.
It'd been sitting there the whole time, just hidden in the brush. And inside this one, the remains of 2 more children.
So now you have the Allenstown 4, an adult woman and 3 little girls, all beaten to death, dismembered, packed into barrels.
And for decades, nobody knew who they were. Nobody even reported them missing. It was like they just fell off the face of the earth.
That's the part that's so strange. Usually with a crime this big, someone notices.
Neighbors, schools, grandparents, anyone. But here, just silence.
So investigators are stuck. They have bodies, but no names. They eventually realize that to solve this, they don't need to look at the victims first.
No, they needed to find the monster who put them there.
And that's where the antagonist of our story comes in, a man who for the longest time didn't really exist.
The chameleon killer.
Exactly.
In the late 70s, early 80s, right around when these murders likely happened, there was this guy working as an electrician at the Wambeck Mills in Manchester, New Hampshire. He called himself Bob Evans.
Bob Evans. It sounds like the most generic name you could possibly come up with.
And that was the whole point. He was a drifter. He lived in Manchester, which is just a short drive from where the bodies were found. But Bob Evans, that wasn't his real name. He was a ghost.
And this guy's timeline is just terrifying. He leaves New Hampshire in the early 80s and just keeps reinventing himself. In California, he's Gordon Jensen.
Then he becomes Curtis Kimball. Then Larry Vanner.
He just shed identities like snakeskin.
And everywhere he went, women and children went missing. But the police couldn't connect the dots. The systems just didn't talk to each other back then.
He actually died in prison in 2010.
Right, for murdering his girlfriend, Unsoon June, out in California.
But get this. He died under the name Larry Vanner. The authorities knew it was an alias, but they had no idea who he really was. He took his secrets to the grave.
But he left a loose thread. And this one little thread is the key to this whole mystery. Back in 1986, while he was posing as Gordon Jensen in California, he abandoned a 5-year-old girl named Lisa at an RV park. He just left her there and took off.
And years later, DNA testing proved he wasn't her biological father.
Exactly. Which raised this massive red flag.
Yeah.
Who is this girl? And where is her family?
So they find out her real name.
They do. Lisa was actually Dawn Bodan. Her mother was a woman named Denise Bowden, who went missing from New Hampshire back in 1981. And guess who Denise was dating when she vanished?
It had to be Bob Evans.
That's the one. That was the link. That's what finally connected the killer in California all the way back to New Hampshire. So investigators finally have a real suspect for the Bear Brook barrels.
So they run the DNA tests, comparing the killer, who we now know as Terry Piter Rasmussen, to the 4 victims.
And this is where the plot just twists, because the DNA results, they didn't say what anyone expected.
No.
No, they didn't. The DNA showed that Rasmussen was not the father of the adult woman in the barrel.
Okay.
And he wasn't the father of the first little girl, or the third little girl. But he was the biological father of the child found in that second barrel, the one they found in 2000.
Wow.
The little girl, aged about 2 to 4. That was his daughter.
Let that just sink in for a second. He killed a woman and 2 children who weren't related to him, and then he killed his own daughter and put them all in barrels.
It's a level of evil that is, I mean, it's hard to even comprehend. But from an investigative standpoint, it gave them a foothold.
Right.
They knew the killer was Terry Rasmussen. They knew one victim was his child. But they still didn't have her name.
Because to get her name, they needed to know who her mother was.
And Rasmussen wasn't talking. He was dead.
Right.
And because he used fake names his whole life, there was no birth certificate for a, daughter of Bob Evans.
So this brings us to the science. Investigators were desperate. They tried everything.
Everything. They even used isotope analysis on the victim's teeth and hair.
Which is like a chemical GPS, right? We've talked about this before.
Exactly. You are what you eat and drink. The water you drink leaves specific isotope signatures in your bones and teeth. It can tell you roughly where you grew up.
And what did it find?
The analysis showed the victims moved around a lot. It suggested that Rasmussen's daughter, specifically, spent time in the Northeast or maybe the Midwest.
But it's a blurry map. It's not giving you a street address.
No. It just narrows the haystack, but it doesn't find the needle. To find the needle, they needed the genetic genealogy revolution.
This is the same tech that caught the Golden State Killer.
Yes. And in 2019, it finally broke the silence for 3 of the Bear Brook victims.
A massive breakthrough.
It was. Through this really complex DNA mapping, building family trees backward from distant cousins, they finally identified 3 of the 4.
And the adult woman was?
Marlise Elizabeth Honeychurch.
Oh, Elise.
She'd gone missing from California in 1978, had an argument with her mother, and just left. And she was dating a man named Terry Rasmussen.
And the other 2 girls?
Marie Vaughn and Sarah McWaters. They were Marlise's daughters from previous relationships.
So that's the woman and 2 of the children, Marlise, Marie, and Sarah. But what about the 4th victim, the one who was Rasmussen's biological daughter?
Marlise was not her mother. DNA proved that. So Rasmussen had this child with someone else.
So in 2019, 3 victims get their names back. But the little girl in the second barrel, the middle child, is still just a Jane Doe.
She was Rasmussen's daughter. But without the mother's identity, she was still a ghost. And that is where this case stood until just a few months ago.
September 2025. This is the part of the story I really love because it wasn't solved by a badge. It was solved by just obsession.
That's a good way to put it.
You have these citizen sleuths, people like Becky Heath and Rhonda Randall. They're not cops. They're just regular people who refuse to let this go.
They worked parallel to the police for years, building these massive family trees, combing through archives.
And sometimes the break doesn't come from a lab. It comes from a tip.
In July 2025, Rhonda Randall gets a text message, a totally random text from a stranger who'd been following the case.
And the text said,
The stranger said, I had a friend named Pepper Reed.
Pepper Reed.
Pepper went missing from Houston, Texas, back in the mid-70s. And here's the kicker. She was dating a man named Terry Rasmussen.
Yeah.
And when she vanished, she was pregnant.
That has to be the most electrifying moment. You get that text and you're just like, is this it?
It has to be.
But wait, Rasmussen used all those aliases? He was Curtis Kimball in Texas, Bob Evans in New Hampshire.
Right, so the citizen sleuths had a theory. What if Rasmussen and Pepper Reed had the baby before everything went bad? If the baby was born in a hospital, there has to be a record somewhere.
But under what name? Would a career criminal actually put his real name on a birth certificate?
That was the gamble. Becky Heath went to the online index for California vital records. She didn't search for Bob Evans. She searched for a child born in the mid-70s with a mother named Reed.
A father named Rasmussen.
It feels like looking for a needle in a stack of needles.
And
she found it.
No way.
A birth certificate, 1976. San Francisco. Father, Terry Peter Rasmussen. Mother, Pepper Reed. Child's name, Rhea Rasmussen.
Rhea, R-E-A.
Rhea Rasmussen, after 40 years of being a number in a file, of being the middle child, She had a name.
That's incredible. And it's so ironic. We spent all this time waiting for some, advanced DNA tech to solve it.
And the answer was sitting in a public filing cabinet in California the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. And this is really important. The document existed, yes. But without the DNA science proving that Rasmussen was the father, no one would have ever known to look for it. You needed the high tech to ask the right question, so the old school detective work could find the answer.
So fast forward to September 2025. New Hampshire State Police hold a press conference, and they confirm it.
The DNA Doe Project had been working on the same lead independently. They tracked down Pepper Reed's family in Texas, took DNA samples, and matched them to the child in the barrel. The science confirmed what the birth certificate said.
The middle child is Rhea Rasmussen.
It is the end of a 40-year mystery.
But it's a heavy ending.
It is. You have to think about the families. Rasmussen actually had another daughter from a first marriage, a woman named Diane, who's still alive.
She wasn't one of his victims.
No. And for years, she's had to live with knowing her father was this monster, and now she finally knows who her half-sister was.
It closes the loop on the barrels. We know Marlise, Marie, Sarah, and now Rhea. We know the killer was Rasmussen.
But there are still missing pieces, aren't there?
There are. We found the children, but we haven't found all the mothers. Pepper Reed, Rhea's mom, she's still missing.
And Denise Bowden.
Denise Bowden, the mother of the girl abandoned at the RV park, is also still missing.
And Rasmussen almost certainly killed them, too.
Almost certainly. But their bodies have never been recovered. He took the location of those graves to his own grave. So while the barrel mystery is solved, the full, horrible map of his crimes is still incomplete. It really just makes you think about the fragility of identity. Rhea Rasmussen was a person. She was born, she had a name, she probably had a favorite toy. And then, because of one man, she just became body number 4 for 4 decades.
And she only got her humanity back because a stranger decided to send a text and a researcher decided to spend $20 on a document.
It just goes to show you that these cold cases aren't just solved by supercomputers. They're solved by people refusing to forget.
Absolutely. The science is just a tool. The curiosity, the persistence, that's what actually solves the crime.
If you want to see who we've been talking about, I really encourage you to look up the photos of Marlise, Marie, and Sarah and the composite images of Rhea. Putting a face to the name, it really changes everything.
It really does. It reminds you why this all matters.
That is our deep dive on the Bear Brook murders, a 40-year nightmare finally put to rest. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay curious.